Welcome, what's up, everybody, to Focus Driven Enterprises podcast. It's your boy, John Hudson. I have one of my dearest friends from way back. We share a lot of love, both in school and out of school.
Dunk contest too.
Dunk contest, where unfortunately for him, I won.
Deserving.
But for if I would have, I'll put it to you this way: if he wouldn't have missed any of his dunks, it would have been a wrap. I mean, it would have been so not close because he's so athletic. And we're gonna talk about that in a minute. Everybody, I want everybody to understand today's message, and the person who I'm speaking with is very influential in what he's doing. He has his own podcast. He's from Kansas City, Kansas, by way of Houston, Texas. And I'm just so excited about what he is doing. And I want everybody to give it up for my main man, the 3% Show host himself, Mr. CJ Horn.
Just in case they can't hear me in the background, I'm
like, Clifton, what's good,
going
man?
on, brother?
How you doing?
Blessed, man. I can't complain, man. It's an honor to be here. Going back from you wearing the jersey with the cutoff joint underneath it with the pencil in your ear. I think you had the Honda back then, so you was killing them.
Oh man,
killing the game.
I actually had a Ford Escort.
It was an Escort.
It was a Ford Escort.
Aaron Henson had the Honda, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And Cortez Vaughn had a Honda, and I think Tom Young had like a Ford Escort, like a newer one. So we all thought
Tom had it. Tom
always had
it.
The latest and greatest. But man, I'm glad to have you on, man. I when I thought of you, it made me think about, of course, our childhood and our days in high school, but then it made me think about on a professional realm of Black men who are thriving in America right now. Mm-hmm. And for my personal opinion, I think you were one of those gentlemen that have been through so much, man. And now on the other side of the storm, you're able to not only influence other people, but influence the community as far as what you got going on right now, segueing into your future with your podcast.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. So tell the listeners, man, and the viewers as we are recording, what the 3% show is all about, and give a synopsis of your background in the sense of how you got it started.
All right, so I appreciate it. Again, my name is CJ Horn. People back home know me as CJ Horn. Yeah. People in Houston know me as Jay. Yeah, but basically, I've always wanted to do broadcast journalism. My dream was to be with Monica Nightingale, Tony G on Hot 103.
Wow.
I believe back then they had messages from them playing Public Enemy's concert, NWA, Luther, and always providing a service for the community. But as I got older, things changed. Yeah. It was less information and more partying and BSing, like Diddy would say. So podcasting is something that I've always wanted to. I guess it was my calling, and everybody knew it but me, because I've had friends pour into me. And 10 years ago when I got here, more friends poured into me. So the 3% Show basically is a show that I came up with because I have a quote that people will show you and tell you 97% of the truth. And it's admirable if it's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the 3% that people do not tell you still holds power in their life, no matter if it's good, bad, horrible. It could be the thing that drives you every day.
Wow.
3% can be something that you would never tell anybody, but that's their truth. And whoever they decide to show that 3% to, that's how you truly get to know somebody.
Wow.
So I just want to give people their roses and platforms now, as opposed to when they make it, because I believe the next leader is in your community. You probably know your next leader. Sure. You just don't give them a voice. They just haven't spoken. So I just want to get people's dreams out and lift as many people and tackle different subjects as possible.
Right. That's good, man. That's excellent. I'm glad you emphasize giving people a platform so that they can speak and tell their truth. That's what I do too. As you see, we both kind of have this ambition.
Absolutely.
You, like myself, we come from humble beginnings. right there from State Avenue to Parallel in KCK, where there's really not a whole lot to do. It's not a whole lot of people that are doing something in a positive way to
Mhm.
push people forward to their dreams. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so when you say podcast and when you say you was born to do this and you have a
Mhm.
passion for it, I can see it in your eyes and I can hear from your tone of your voice, like, yo, he really does have a
Yeah,
true passion for this.
yeah. Man, I have musical Tourette's, so I love everything from R&B. Neo soul is my favorite genre to being introduced to Gil Scott Heron so early in life, and my homeboy DJ Shad sharing a DVD with me, and
Yeah.
getting into poetry because music, poetry, and baseball were my first loves. So
Wow.
I'm actually better in baseball than I was basketball. And
Yeah.
it's
So
just
let's
one of
talk about that real quick. I want to get into that. A lot of people don't know, like you, how tall you are, at least 6'5" or 6'6". How
6'4".
tall? No.
I'm Barkley, baby. They list me higher because I can rebound. That's it.
He's 6'4". In high school. I promise y'all, he was 6'5". I mean, and I'm gonna tell you this: in high school, as I'm 1 year older than this young man, and he had skills at that time in the 90s that were prolific. And I'm not making this up. I'm not saying this because he's on the show and we're good friends. I'm saying this because this is honest to goodness truth. CJ Horn and that class and that 95, 96 uh,
Came out in
class of
97,
basketball,
you know.
that team really was something special. And in fact, I have to get something, and I'm just going to take a small break because a lot of people don't understand because I got this on my
This
little
is
wall of fame, and I'm gonna show it now because people think that I'll be playing. Like I'm not kidding y'all. Like this is it, bro. These these
man. Willie
these
Boo Boo Evans,
these are the,
Tyrone
these are the
Walker,
legends, man.
EJ, Cool Tom,
Tom Young, you see
man.
Earl
Rashad, la la la
Watson.
la la da. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
you got Joe
Mac,
Maxton. You got
come
Cortez
on.
Vaughn. You got Eric CJ. There you go, right there. I got you in that circle part right
Man, I
there.
need to be slim like that again. Swear I need to see my Adam's apple. But you know what's so amazing about that picture?
What's up?
And I'm sure you'll get into it. A lot
Yeah,
of the players that did transfer
yeah,
made all conference in Shawnee Mission,
yeah,
Olathe.
yeah,
So imagine what would have
yeah.
happened if we
If,
all stayed.
if
And
we
I
all
put
would have
that
stayed and
totally on
did
me. I
right,
put that all on me because I can honestly say, and we'll get into that if whatever the situation goes, but I only played 70%
yeah,
my life at I only did 70% in life at everything. So
right.
a lot of those L's was my fault.
Nah, I mean, you got to remember, we made it to sub-state, bro. So that year, we made it to 11. We beat Leavenworth, and then we lost to Topeka, either Highland or Seaman, one of them Topeka teams. And then
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
kind of like
Barksdale and Tony
yeah,
Foreman,
it was
Topeka
kind of like
High.
when you made your announcement that you was leaving. It was like LeBron James is leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's like I have now decided to take my talents to Leavenworth, and I will be leaving Washington High School. I was like, what? And I was in college playing at KCK, where I share my story. I played at KCK, and they cut me my first year.
Who
Coach
was that,
Pratt was like,
Pratt?
"Yep,
Yeah, that was all that pipeline of
yeah,
BS.
yeah,
I'll openly say that.
yeah."
That
I
was
mean,
all BS. That's why they didn't even recruit me at all.
yeah. And so I'm like, wow, but I look at what we did with the clientele that we had. We was, I want to say 3-0 or 4-0 when we first got started. We were ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the state. We was ranked either 1 or 2 in our conference because the
Mhm.
only people who would come close to us was Sumner High School. Uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Sligo at that time, we beat Sligo in 95, 96 all 3 times. They didn't come close to us at that
absolutely.
particular time. I
Even
think
Peyton and
Earl
Chris.
and myself and everybody else had some beef with that because we was
Hey,
like, yo,
Earl wasn't about to let that happen.
he wasn't like, nah, y'all not about to beat us at all.
It's so crazy. I remember the JUCO tournament when Derek Hood had 21 and 17. I had 16 and 12.
Yeah,
And I remember EJ walking off the court, and I said, he's coming to Washington. So I knew Sligo was definitely on the list,
yeah,
and Wyandotte was on everybody's list
everybody's
because
list.
it was a time where Washington, we couldn't beat Wyandotte.
We couldn't beat them. And I think Wanda ended up beating us, I want to say both times that year. I'm
That
not
was
for
my
sure.
fault.
No, no.
No, JB Martin. Hey, I would give props. JB Martin was the
JB
hardest.
was a beast, man. And at that
JB
time,
had
we got to give
dog
credit
in
where
him.
credit is due. JB was the beast. And
Carl,
yeah, Carl,
R.I.P.
everybody,
You
man.
had Randy Campbell. You
Yeah,
had Chris Williams, the Heart Warrior.
yeah,
You had
yeah.
so many talents. And even though it digressed, as far as the height, you had Kelly Newton, who was my
Oh man.
college roommate in the
Right.
show.
Yep, and I
Um,
interviewed him a few weeks ago. He came on the show and we talked
yeah.
about that. But I look at the talent that was in that realm of the schools, and I look at us
Mhm.
now, and I'm just like going, man, we faced so much. It was a lot going on at that time between discrimination, between black males being killed. I mean, as well as I know, at Washington High School, people was getting beat up in glass hallways, scratch stitches.
Yeah.
We finding out people, being murdered on the street. Drive-by shootings was a
That's why I
common.
left.
You know
That's
what I'm
one of the
saying? It
main
was just
reasons why I left and
and the
transferred
only
out
thing
of
that we
Washington.
really had was sports, you know what I'm saying, and music. And I just appreciate now because we made it through that time, and now we can kind of give back to let other brothers know that they don't have to sell out to themselves to try to be famous or to try to be successful. You can actually do some educative things, and you can
Hmm.
actually do some positive things to really make a name for yourself. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you today because be- besides the basketball genre and besides the podcasting, you were a person first.
Right.
You were a young man that had aspirations and you stuck to your core values. And you mentioned that okay, you only played 70%, and
Hmm.
you could have did more. Well, at the time, I want you to explain a little bit kind of what we went through, and I'm saying this in the sense of basketball, but you can say it in a life perspective
Absolutely.
of what
Absolutely.
we went through kind of during that era and playing sports
Hmm.
that we know we could have did better, or if we would have had certain tools or people to push us. What is your take on that?
Well, the thing about it is this. Just overall, you're dealing with people that was dealing from the 80s with the crack epidemic.
Right.
You have people that were blessed to have a full family like yourself, and then you have people that had independent families.
Yeah.
You had the streets that were saying, okay, if you play sports, or if you were smart, hey, they covered. So for me, my background consists of humble beginnings. Up into the third grade, I lived across the street from my father, and he never talked to me.
Wow.
So knowing that that's my dad, I never said dad anything, never
Wow.
worried about it. I had one sister that I knew was his, but it's five of us.
Mm.
So growing up, it was more or less you have a mother that's doing what she can, and you see these. I don't understand people say parenting starts at home, but the caricatures you see,
Hmm.
things like the Cosby Show, that raised me because I had no idea of black colleges, and this is how surreal it is. I didn't even realize that Lincoln and Langston was down the street until my senior year when Leavenworth High School took me there.
Wow.
So I'm in a predominantly black area
Right.
with nobody telling us, hey, black colleges are down the street. I could have had the different world experience. I could have chose that. I love UCLA to death. That's my dream school.
Right. Right.
But coming through, I was abused as a child.
Mhm.
It was thank God it wasn't horrible. It was sexual things that was happening to me earlier. That's before I even got to the fourth grade.
Wow.
So you're looking at a situation with some kids, especially young boys, that are not talked about. But even dealing with young ladies and more, that whole era was kids are to be seen and not to be heard.
Right. Right.
So from there it was low self-esteem. It was more until I met Rick Frank, who put me on Rosedale Optimist, and we played ball 3-2, which Rick Frank was a
Man.
corny looking white dude, love Larry Bird. Back in them days, Celtics white people,
Oh
Lakers
man.
black people. It was a split.
Right.
I love Larry Bird. I got a Kevin McHale jersey in my closet now because I matured.
Right.
But dealing with that, man, is just that you want so much for others, and I realized being an empath that I felt like I was always holding my breath above water
Mhm.
because I was waiting for the next hit or impact. But I've always had a thing of service That's my thing. I'm a server. I'm a worker ant. And dealing with that, it took somebody like Al Collins, who I met sipping on water at Eisenhower, reading a love letter, and he has this booming voice, and he introduced me to basketball.
Right.
And
But
from
for people
there,
who
it
don't
was
know who
confident.
Al Collins is, Al Collins to me is probably the most underrated, but probably the most well-respected AAU coach through the Kansas City, Kansas area.
And was
Nobody knows how much talent that he had on one team to two teams to 20 teams throughout the late 80s and the mid 90s. Period. Bar none, one of the best coaches of AAU of all time. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
I can honestly tell you, Al and Gail introduced me to so much in life,
Yes.
from being just normal people to him saving me, saying he wants to give me opportunity. That's how I met Earl. That's how I met Laverne. That's how I met Billy Jackson.
Yep.
That's how, all the slew of Wyandotte County basically came through.
Yeah.
And that's how I got the chance to know him before I saw him at Skating Land and more.
Right.
Um, just learned so much. His rules was God first, family second,
Dude.
homework, and you, meaning he always wanted you to have something other than sports to know.
Yeah.
And through his rise through being normal and finding Christ,
Yeah.
that was the first like visual thing I've seen a man and a love for a woman and communicate
Yeah.
more in a
Ain't
while.
that
So
something, man? That's crazy. Like I didn't even think of it in that way, but you are absolutely right. And the same thing that you experienced was the same thing I experienced. I was at Arrowhead Middle School, and some of the guys was like, John, have you heard of Al Collins? And I was like, I've heard of him, but I know his son because we all played in that neighborhood league.
mhm.
And Mr. Collins walked up to me and said, "Hey, young fella, if you want to play ball with me, you can, but you got to learn how to shoot with your left hand." And I didn't know what he was talking about. And so while we were in the game playing, it was a fast break. I stole the ball, and he said, use your left. And I went up with my left hand, ball went everywhere. He said, yeah, that's why you need to be with me.
And to attest to the left hand thing,
Yeah.
me and Laverne Smith grew up around each other, and true competitor, truly loved the person for who he is, and he had so
Vern
much.
Smith.
When he discovered and unlocked his left hand, probably around sophomore year, that whole summer at Bell Rec, he was unstoppable, and he shot nothing but left hands. He was a beast.
Right.
So, but
I
yeah,
don't like Laverne. Me and Laverne never really clicked. It wasn't a personal thing. It was just he was always on one end of the floor and I was on the other end of the floor. But then when we met, it was basketball.
yeah.
But when I met Laverne, this is when I knew Laverne, and I knew him going up through high school. But Laverne was a dynamic player, very quick,
Mhm.
quick,
Football too,
yeah,
football and basketball.
player. And so it was hard to guard him because you didn't know if he was going to run a football route on you or he was just going to
Absolutely.
go right past you with one or two dribbles. But the thing that gave me much respect was when he played at Hutch and we played them, man, and he just destroyed us. He had like 20-something points, and I was like, this guy, and I knew
Yeah,
who he was. Earl and them were good friends. I was like, man, this kid is pretty good. So
yeah.
like it's humbling, like you said. I want to touch back and go back to kind of your upbringing in the sense of you mentioned that growing up, we all face adversity from
hmm
kind of the child abuse and the
Child abuse,
harmful things from sexual
molestation,
encounter.
almost molestation. It wasn't. It could have been a lot worse.
Right.
But I thank God that I was covered from that, and that's why I I feel like if you're going to speak on certain things, you have to involve yourself in certain things instead of hide it.
For sure.
Molestation, trying to school, just the basic schoolwork.
Yeah.
I feel like people have is killer instincts. Either you're born with a killer instinct, you learn a killer instinct because you have a desire to, and some people just don't get it. So
Right.
that killer instinct happened to me later in life, but I've always had a desire, and I believe that people's character shows a lot. I mean, if we think about how many people, like you said, we've lost, I mean, I still get saddened about Keith Hartman, and
Yeah.
Moochie is the reason why I transferred. That whole summer changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And I just believe that, having people that care about you, Mr. Mitchell, Butch Ellison,
Right.
Ruth Goheen, even if it doesn't happen to you, you look about and you think about how many people Ruth Goldheim inspired, Earl, Robert Roberson,
Right.
and more. Even dealing with people like you, like I've always paid attention to people like you who went to school, who studied hard, who played hard, who just were authentically themselves.
Yeah. It's
That's the thing.
that's it. I mean, you spoke on the right. The two words that come to mind as you just spoken was the word character. Um,
Character.
Character is a big part of who you are, what makes you do what you do. And
Hmm.
people judge you by the way that you carry yourself because of your character. And believe it or not, young people or anybody else who is listening to this, your character can take you a long way in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if I think about it, like, like I was always a cheesy kind of kid because I had so much I was dealing
Oh,
with
you was a joyful joy.
to,
Always
you
had
know,
laughter. Always had something positive to
and
say.
that was the thing about it. Like you act positive because you don't want people asking you what's wrong. So
Right,
that's why I truly believe in things like therapy.
right,
Talking to Miss Sparkman helped me.
right,
Talking to Butch Ellison helped me.
right.
Talking to Me Bang. Me Bang was one of my closest friends. Just talking to him and talking to Al. So you have to understand, going back to my upbringing, that I come from an era where sports was a testing ground. AAU sports. If it was football, that's when they started having traveling teams more. So it was a civil war between coaches versus taking care of your players for mental health. So
Right.
that's why I'm an advocate for therapy. That's why I'm an advocate for, if even if you're in church, therapy is a beautiful thing because it gives you a non-biased opinion
Right.
about things. And like people like you, I just truly appreciate it because I didn't know that you accomplished so much versus when we were young. You wouldn't have imagined that you've been to all the places just because of playing time. And I keep telling young kids,
Man.
high school should not be the best part of your life.
No, it shouldn't. But unfortunately, because of how society views high school, these kids, especially these days with social media and
Mhm.
all of the phones and all of that, people are so into themselves and wrapped up around the right now and not even paying attention to the bigger scheme of life. I think one of the things that was a light bulb for me, and you talk about where I play. Of course, I tell people Fiji, New Zealand, played in two colleges. I done contests with you, done contests in college, and I always go back to God, man. I always go back to
Absolutely.
my belief in the Lord and how I literally had to set myself apart from what everybody else was doing and kind of
That's reading,
find my
baby. You got
own
to
way.
set yourself apart,
Yeah,
study yourself, approve, sacrifice.
exactly. So, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I don't think Earl would mind this, but I remember I seen Earl's one or two, it was about a year or so ago, and we was at a function. Earl comes in town every once in a while,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Yo, what's up?" He was like, "What's going on, J Hud?" So I kind of got on him a little bit. I was like, "Hey, man." And everybody knows his story. He played basketball 14 years in the league, UCLA, big time, still holds the assist record, I believe, in UCLA for the most
He
assists.
does. And charges.
Yeah,
That's that's the thing I love, the charges
yeah,
record.
and I tell him this all the time, and this is something that
Mhm.
you can brag about too when you see him, CJ. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, man, before you was playing ball or passing the basketball to Russell Wilson, or excuse me, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and Ray Allen and all of the NBA stars that you played with, you was passing to me first. You know what I'm saying? And not to say this in a bragging way, but in a sense of him knowing that everybody has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and I think Earl embodies the clear portrait of success, knowing how to start from the bottom and working your way up. And same with you and myself.
So that's so true. Think of it this way. How many of us graduated from the dot and we're so proud of the dot? And I don't have kids, right?
Mhm.
But how many of us with kids, how many of us our age with kids actually go to Wyandotte County schools?
I don't think a whole lot of nobody.
So this is the thing. It's not a shot for Wyandotte County, but it's growth.
Right.
But it's even bigger for people who have made it, who still speak up for Wyandotte County.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just
Right.
like me. I went to Washington for 3 years. I gave them everything that I could.
Right.
I took a lot of things. That was one of the hardest times of my life because I always remind adults what a pebble to a kid is a boulder to them
Yeah.
versus what we think a pebble is.
Right.
So when I think of that, and growing up, it was, I don't know if he ever heard of it, but it was a lot of animosity between me and EJ. And I'm just like, I don't have a problem with it. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Just like we were saying, I always lived as Robin. I always felt like I had to push other people's dream until I realized that I'm great too.
Right.
So even dealing with EJ, I've always told people, hey, if you want to see a point guard that's kind of similar to a Joe Dumars, hard nose,
Yeah.
take charges, assist, Earl.
Earl Watson.
Let's be realistic.
He
Like,
reminds me of Mark Jackson, straight up. He reminds me of Mark
right.
Jackson. 1980.
Basketball IQs out the ceiling may not be the most athletic,
Yeah.
but it's
But
all about
got a
how you
nose for the
dissect the
ball,
game.
got an IQ for looking around, knowing where everybody's at. And when he passes you the ball, it's on point. Every single time, the way the ball feels in your hand when he passes you the ball, it makes you want to
The
shoot.
line's already lined up for a layup.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. That's something that you can't
teach.
you can't coach. That same goes for people like Floyd, same things
Boy,
that goes for people like Jeffrey Hawkins. But
Jeffrey
this is
Hawkins.
the thing about people like that.
Yep.
Deal with people that's quiet, you never know their true character. So
Yeah.
again, we come back to the word character and integrity.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was I was always scared of success because sometimes when you find success, you find out who you truly are and you battle with that. You can be the best of the best of the worst of the worst.
Right.
So even dealing with somebody like EJ, even dealing with, like, I thought Kendall Howard is one of the smartest brothers I know.
Kendall, shout out.
To see just great people. Tiffany that was on, just to see people that's moved away from Wyandotte County.
Yeah.
That still hold presidents and still give back. That's amazing because, I mean, not even Wyandotte County, Glen North,
Yeah.
you just had Vidge on there.
Yeah.
I remember Vidge when he was rapping at JUCO talent shows.
Yeah.
And now he has a whole platform for
he
the
got a whole mantra and got movies now.
But you're giving people the platform, and that's what this isn't about me. This is about It's too many humans and not enough humane people in the world.
Right.
So that's why I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, man, like I said, I've done this. This is season 2. I've been in radio now for over 10 years. I had a radio show called the J&A Show back in 2009. Was syndicated on the Ray Manning Singers radio show, and it was down in their basement. This was the time before the internet became what it was, and with now podcasting being so available. And so I've always had the genre of interviewing people. So people say, well, who have you interviewed for? I interviewed people like, man, I can't think of his name now, but he is one of the leading producers for Will Packard. That's his name. People don't know who Will Packard is. He's produced and movies from Think Like a Man to Takers. And I was interviewing people like that before they really, really became famous. And
Absolutely.
I don't know how I got those connections, to be honest with you. But I always kept my character traits intact. Shout out to April Boyd Norona, who got me on with her and said, John, you got something special. You stick with me, kid. We can go a long way. And I did. And here I am now. But one of the things I love about talking to you, CJ, is the fact that when we talk about character, you mentioned some other things about our health and awareness. I want people to know about the importance of our mental health in regards to therapy stuff, because I have a master's degree in counseling, and I do some therapy with youth on a regular basis. And give us your take about why mental health is so important for our culture and our people.
All right. So it's very important to me. It's the stigma that Black people don't need therapy.
Yeah.
And this is we've seen this. I always tell people, revert to back in the days when you first saw soul food. We always had that crazy uncle or auntie that was locked in the back.
Right.
That we just lived at life. We gave them their little plot, and then the world went on. And at the end of the day, he was able to give you gifts.
Right.
So I think the biggest stigma is Michael Basin once said at a seminar that I went to at KCK with Tattoo, Dean Lee took us. We were the only JUCO out there with universities. And Michael Basin said, you can lie to anybody in the world, but you can't lie to yourself.
Right.
So I think having accountability with yourself, because I mean, I'm not perfect, but I think knowing when there's a problem, being able to verbally voice it,
Yeah.
asking for it from parents or even on your jobs.
Right.
You have to want to have help. That's the first step. And the second step is once you get into therapy, being as real as you can. If you give your therapist half truth,
Right.
you're only going to get half results, and you can't say the therapy doesn't work.
Right.
You know, growing up with me, I mean, after Washington, and not just Washington, I can't put that all on Washington or Spartan or anything, but it was huge for me in my life. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna get into specifics, but I can if you ask.
Right.
However, between that and Moochie dying, I remember when Dia called me, I made a conscious decision that I was truly messed up. I was emotional. I had thoughts of suicide. I cut my wrist here one time. I was just blown because Moochie was like a bro to me.
Yeah.
And we all have our own individual stories and relationships with somebody. So me Bane was there to help me. And I remember just getting that, and we didn't have an AAU. Al didn't have a team.
Right.
Earl was already with CMH. He made the right decision for him and went to CMH. Me and Floyd played for a team out in Avila that was horrible. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first time I ever felt empty, because we were talking about characteristics in therapy. I didn't even want to play basketball. The only reason why I played basketball is because I didn't have any brothers. Yeah. And it was a camaraderie. It was a safe base. It was something that was consistent.
Right.
So as I got older, I said, here, let me move out it doesn't do any good to play in District 500. And that was the first time that I realized I was depressed. Right. Living in Leavenworth, you know, it should have been everything. Took second in state, only lost by 6 points. But to me, I was empty. I didn't practice going to college. Right. You know, Sean T. breaking it down with Brown, he came and recruited me for Butler, I believe. But at that point in my life, I was lost. I didn't know God. I didn't believe in therapy. All I knew was I need to work for others. And I was slowly dying until it finally hit me that, you know, I needed help. And when I found help, you know, one of the hardest things in the world is to reintroduce yourself to the world, your mother and father, like Lauryn Hill said. Yeah. So when I hit that point, it was weird. You know, when you go through your whole life living for others, like I said, you feel like the world is obese and you're anorexic, but you're feeding them with a wood spoon still. You're not eating. Right. You're constantly feeding. It's a weird feeling, because I never thought that I was deserving enough for anything or good enough for anyone. Wow. So taking a leap of faith 10 years ago, moving to Houston was my first step. And I never would have thought that moving here to go to Crossover Bible Fellowship, finding God in the right way with men. Right. Because God, I mean, Al always said women to go to church and men to follow. Right. So that was the first time that I actually saw men of the cloth. And that was the first time I actually took therapy, was when I was in Houston.
That's fantastic, man. You kind of gave the synopsis of kind of like your childhood grieving moment with Moochie when he passed away, and how you had to figure that out, and you had to kind of reset your mindset, reset your focus, and try to
I had to deal with feelings. Like I've
never had to deal with that. Right. It was my upbringing was very similar like yours. It was a guy by the name of Michael Tremble Jr. who died a tragic death in 1998, 99. Him, you know, and people know me, people know my background. I was always in church. My mother's a pastor. My dad is a deacon. So I've always had that.
I remember him, that hat on.
Yeah, but my dad, before he became a deacon, he was off the chain. You know what I'm saying? He didn't care. People know, like, man, your daddy will do it. And my daddy always taught me and my brother, man, if nobody stands up for you, who's gonna stand up for you?
I remember your brother.
Yeah, and my brother, and shout out to Rick. I love him very much. But within me saying these things between my brother, and I'm listening to Moochie and the people that I had that passed away, and me and my brother hung out with individuals in church, and they were like, family to us, you know. And then you mentioned like the Hawkins brothers, like Floyd and Trey. They all stayed in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? They used to come down to my
Hmm.
house, play basketball, and we used to hang out, go to the YMCA and play basketball.
Hmm.
But it was something about during that time, everybody was family. We knew to kind of be around each other and to give each other hope. But I'm listening to your story and I'm like, wow, CJ, you went through all of those different things. And then when you took that leap of faith and went to Houston,
No
it,
job, homeless for 2 months.
you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like you seen the down, but then you got to experience the up.
So let me read something right quick.
Yeah.
When you make a conscious decision to plant a garden in your backyard, the connection between the care you give the plants and the result of when you receive is the obvious.
Mm.
And that's what I believe in sowing. And the reason why that's so important is you talk about the leap of faith.
Love it.
Just I recently just saw EJ for the first time.
Uh,
Last time I came home, and I'm just glad he's okay.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad so many of my friends are okay.
Right.
Um, and it's healthy because I truly believe the way you present yourself to the world can only take you for who you are. And I've always tried to be kind of transparent. And because of those relationships I built over the years using sports,
Hmm.
now I'm in Houston. I have Raymond and Damon Mitchell, the
Right.
twins that live here that are trying to do great things to start things here so it'll expand to Kansas. Because I believe when you move, all you're doing is building an extension of yourself.
Right.
Any of
Right.
my true friends or family came to Houston, I'm instantly like, where they at? Do they
Right.
need anything? Are they going to school at TSU? Are they going to Rice? Whatever the case, that's what I believe, that when people move out of state,
Right.
you're an extension of the dot.
That's it, man. You hit it on the money. A lot of people don't know that Wyandotte County is the most underrated or underdeserved population of people where success is everywhere throughout the community.
And riches in the country.
Yeah,
Like certain areas are top 10 or used to be top 10 in the nation.
yeah. And but I'm not just talking about that, but I'm talking. But I mean, everything you're saying is right. But I'm talking about it from entertainment, sports, music. I mean, we got Grammy Award winners, we got actors, we got athletes, all that came from Wyandotte County. And
Hmm.
a lot of young people, or even older people for that matter, don't even understand or really realize where they got their start from, and it was from the DO double T
Well,
E.
here, if you think about it, here's the thing, and you touched on it. You see a celebrity, right? I was once told everybody knows who Kirk Franklin is,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody knows who got Kirk Franklin to be that. Everybody knows who all these prominent pastors are, but they don't know who influenced them. So
Right.
you got people like Mr. Lindsay, then you
Yeah.
have Joe Black,
Right.
you have Jabo, Demetrius Floyd, you have all these before, and then that gives you Earl Watson's, Chris
Mhm.
Weems.
Right.
You have football greats, and that's how you have Arlen Bruce's
Right.
and more. And just on a personal level, I'm not familiar with Wilson's pizzas, but evidently they have a history that's unknown. But you have James Lemonades, you have Hoax, you
Yeah.
have all of these founding places that have benefited, and you heard conversations growing up to help people be who they are. James at Parkwood, because
Yeah.
I lived on 10th and Quindura, even Mr. Watson, I aspired to be a Mr. Watson. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be a history person and somebody to give love to kids because the streets is always going to love you.
Right.
I wanted to give genuine love to young ladies and men and give people deserving things. And I just, no matter if you're a teacher or a coach, do it out of love.
Right.
Don't do it out of privilege because you've done the job it takes to get there and then you have, but do it.
Yeah.
Do it because you love it because people are dependent on you.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, CJ. I mean, everything that you just mentioned is everything that I'm doing. Every book that I've wrote is out of love. I'm trying to
Mhm.
give back what I learned from all the people in Wyandotte. I'm giving that back through my books and a little bit of my education to say, hey, if I can do it, I want you to do it and take it to a whole nother level, if you can. But
Well,
it
that
was,
comes with that character, and
yeah,
then you add on to that on yourself integrity.
yeah, that's
You
true.
could have had the mind state of, well, high school's the best years of my life, and this didn't happen. but you continuously worked because you were born with that tenacity.
Right.
People that's born with that tenacity.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
people that are gifted who can have but do things and make it like it's 100%.
Right.
And some of them never reach 100. Now I do everything that I can with 100%
Right.
because I understand. And when I look at young people now, I can tell when they're giving half but efforts.
Right. 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 Exactly. It's funny how you say that because in high school, I remember my high school basketball coach, Coach Sparkman, told me these words. He said, "John Hudson, you will never play basketball outside of the four walls of this high school in Washington." And it took everything. I remember Terrence Flowers was standing right there next
Come
to
on, Terrence Flowers. Happy belated birthday. His birthday was
me. It
this.
took everything within me to like get on top of Coach Sparkman and choke him or to say
Come
something.
on, Spreewell. Go ahead.
To say something like really harmful to me.
Mhm.
But it was like a dove from the sky came into my spirit and say, "Don't say a word."
Holy Spirit.
Exactly. And it said, "John, you don't have to say nothing. Prove him wrong."
Mhm.
And when it hit me, I was like, well, "How am I gonna prove him wrong? I gotta first I gotta graduate school, then I gotta try out for the team, then I gotta do." And then the Holy Spirit said, "Don't worry, don't panic, don't fret. All you got to do is just depend on me. Watch what happens." And within the next 2 or 3 years, of course, I didn't play. Not only did I play outside the four walls of my high school, I played outside the four walls of my country.
Absolutely.
And it just makes kids understand that you cannot let one person dictate where you want to be or how you want your future to be. That's probably to a degree, probably why I'm not married right now.
Hey, and the thing about it is this, brother. Think of it this way. When Al said first law is God. Okay, God came into your life. I
Right.
always remind people that even in the Bible, they always talk about the ram being in the bush. And even when the father was about to do what he was supposed to do, after you follow directions, the ram reveals himself and stops it, and the greater comes. So
Right.
by you being obedient and not lashing out, God showed you, okay, put faith in me and keep moving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's for the greater.
Right.
And that's why I said, I've always wanted to coach. Even though I didn't go to school, I went to Stay Home University. I majored in Victor Newman 101 and minored in trading spaces. So I was eating all the lunch at KCK giving relationship advice. But it's one of these things that, like I said, we grew up in a test area where AAU and God complexes with coaches.
Yeah.
It's no way a coach should ever tell you something like that.
Yeah.
And that's why when I work with coaches and Damon wants me to go to school so I can coach at Austin High School here where he is, and he's seen a lot of talent, excellent brothers.
Right.
But the thing about it is, a coach can have God complexes because you hope that you have a bragging rights to claim somebody
Right.
or say they did X, Y, Z.
Right.
It's how you talk to players. You can't single people out. And if you do, you have to uplift people.
Yeah.
So it's a cause and an effect. So me wanting to get into coaches because I genuinely want to nurture kids with a tough love, but make it black and white, make it plain.
Right.
And that's how you get results from human beings. That's why I said humane versus human beings. It's the
That's
way you
it.
carry yourself.
It's it, man. I know without a doubt you have been through so much now, and you can detest from your own personal experiences of where you are, where you have been versus now. You know now the levels and the steps that it would take for somebody else to be successful, and that's why I got you on the show because it's kind of like we can talk all day long, but if you ain't putting in the work or executing the plan to do it, it won't get done.
It's the reason why
Um,
God closed that door so you won't see what you could have.
exactly.
So you can go
Because
ahead and focus on what's ahead of you.
exactly. So one of the things I wanted to do was this is my time to plug in one of the books. This is the book called The Difference That Makes the Difference. It's the new edition, and it's the 7 keys to success. And we talk about everything that we just mentioned, CJ. And we talk about the swagger of success. So you talk about the staying power. We talk about having a great work ethic. We talk about awareness and then setting goals and then gratitude. I know it says this backwards on here, but then we talk about expectation. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about is resilience. The kids these days don't have a resilience key inside themselves like how we do or how we
Mhm.
did when we were growing up. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was talking about a killer instinct.
Mhm.
It's something that Kobe Bryant possessed that LeBron James doesn't have. It's something that Michael
Oh,
Jordan,
come on now. Come on.
it's something that Michael Jordan was born with that he ended up influencing Kobe to grasp and to live out his life through. And I honestly feel like that is the thing that will help kids make clear decisions with their lives if they would develop and strive and keep a sense of resiliency in
Mhm.
their life.
Yeah.
Because we all gonna make mistakes, we all gonna fall down, but how you gonna get back up?
And that's important. I always tell parents, and like again, I don't have parents, but through dating, I've raised other people's kids,
Right, right.
young men and ladies. So my thing is this: stop having the Superman complex, right?
Mm,
You have to be perfect. You have to do everything right because your kids are paying attention and they're mimicking. And if they're so carefree, they don't know what struggle is.
right.
The best thing you can do is when you go through things in life, you communicate and talk to your kids because if you fall, but you're wearing this mask, and unfortunately in Black America, it's a mask that we wear not only in our household sometimes or in our environment or even when you go to school or work, we have to do things twice as hard.
Yeah,
So my problem about it is if you can't fall and tell your kids, hey, I didn't this happened, how will your kids individually know, especially in this era where you can have an F on Monday for a semester and by Friday you got a straight A? How are they going to understand how to get back up? So you're hitting it directly on the head. I mean, we have to be more transparent.
yeah.
We all parents, but you have to be transparent
Yep.
in order to raise decent kids today because they're the smartest generation we know.
They're the smartest, they're the most informed, they're the most sought after, but also too they're the most hurt, they're the most damaged, they're the most insecure, they're the most mentally challenged, they're the most mentally ill, uh, and they are the most vulnerable.
Well, think of it this way, and I'll be real fast.
Mhm.
Not every household, but some of the households are made of this. Kids don't eat at the dinner table. Families don't eat at dinner tables.
Right,
If they are there, they don't eat without cell phones. Not saying all people.
right, right.
You come back to the living room. We grew up where we had the Cosby Show, a different world. So we were set as a
Talk
family,
about it.
loving on each
Talk
other,
about it. I
talking
love
in
it.
texture.
Yeah,
Talking in texture is what we're used to combining. In today's time, programming on TVs, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with programming. Everything starts at home, no matter if you're teaching Black history, sexuality, and more. It starts at home.
right,
But if you don't, you have cable in the living room, you have cable in your room and your kids' room.
right.
Now you're giving kids smartphones to make dumb decisions.
Yeah,
So essentially, your child is in college or independent living even before they make it to college because some parents will say, hey, I'm there in the household, but your child is living with a bathroom, with a cell phone, with cable, and can take their food to their house, to their room
right.
while you're doing whatever you want to do, or your husband or boyfriend is either in the living room and bedroom. So
Yep.
it's total disconnection, but you have the right to say, I'm there every day with my child. Communication, talk, and texture. That's what makes us who we are. And you have to put kids in positions that they're not used to. If you have a timid kid or an introvert, I understand introvert,
Yeah,
but yet you want to have them ready for college and for the world because once they leave your house,
right,
because parents always say, I know my child,
right.
your child is going into a world that does not care about them. So you
Exactly,
have to
especially
get
for
them
black
ready,
boys, especially for black boys. I love
especially
how
young
you mentioned
ladies
that.
too. Oh my
I'm
God.
putting up, yeah, I'm putting up. You see a picture of me and my boys right there. This is them about 4 or 5 years ago. They now 13 and will be 14 and 6. And I make it a point. You know, I get them every other week. I make it a point. Y'all eating dinner with me at the table. We,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when they come with me, I tell my son, give me the phone, put it up somewhere. We're not gonna have this phone out all weekend. And my youngest son, I don't do the tablet thing with him. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
parents give them the tablet and they can play the little games on the tablet.
Occupy time.
Yeah, he loves trains. We read books.
Yeah.
And we go into the whole Fred Dexter initiative. That's how I write my books for Fred because my me personally, I wanted to be able to write books that I can tell my sons that I wrote as a
Absolutely.
black man.
Absolutely. And that's it, being present. Again,
Right.
being present
Right.
is so important to being a parent because apparently people are there in the home, but you have to be present.
I love it.
And even if you don't have black men in your family or the fathers are not there, which is something we always talk about,
Oh,
this is more than the time where you need to have your uncles and your aunties available to be a present and be
yeah.
present in a life.
Man, you mentioned something special. I am holding in my hand right now the manuscript of my new book I'm writing. It's called Because I Am a Dope Black Father. And I cannot wait. But the very fact that black men need to be more present in lives of these young people, and they need to be more supportive in helping their sons and daughters know the concept and the power of reading through literacy learning. And that's something that we wasn't taught as kids. I mean, we go through it in school, we got our
Mhm.
parents that say it, we say teachers, but if they would take the time out, take the phone away, take the social media away, and say, hey, get a book or get your favorite, I don't know, magazine or newspaper or something that you're interested in. Let's
Mhm.
read and let's talk about this by being present. They'll be surprised at how much knowledge they can get from that.
Absolutely, and that's you're hitting it right on the head. And understand, there's nothing wrong with parents to give people tablets and all.
Right. Nothing wrong with that at all.
The only thing that I say is being present is important, and it's just like I said. If that's not your best attribute, please find somebody in your family or a program that will be able to be present in your child's life because even that's an effort. If
Yes.
it's just not your thing, then it's totally understandable. But sometimes you have to look outside of your immediate to find your greater in the next town over or city over.
Right.
And you want to do it with discernment because they can elevate your child, and even through your child, you can be blessed in so many ways.
I love it. I love it. Listen, we're running out of time. Before I let you go, there's a few things I want to do. One, I think I played the game with Rise when he was on here. I played the game called "What's Your Favorite Sitcom?" And me and him,
Ooh,
we chopped it up back and forth. And he mentioned, I think it was Martin. So
he
I
said
asked
Martin.
him, I was like, "Yo, what's your favorite Martin episode?" And he told me, and we went back and forth. But with you, I'm gonna do something different. You mentioned like the Cosby Show. So
Dang, I was about to say Mixmaster Bob here. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
oh
Okay,
yeah. Bob for marketing.
absolutely. I'm out of control. Gina's out of control. The whole party is out. Okay. Yeah. Civilized Negro. Go ahead.
Hey, that was a funny one. That's when I believe that was the episode when Martin thought Gina was cheating on him
And
out
it
of
was
town.
hot in the room.
And he wrote, yeah, he went and they gassed up the pacer and they went to Detroit and something happened. So anyway,
Absolutely.
so I want to use that same concept,
Mhm.
except tell me what was your favorite Bill Cosby show, since we were talking about the Cosby Show earlier. Think
It's a
about
lot of them.
because I
I
can say I got three in my head. It's from the one where Rudy was singing "Baby" when they did the
night and day.
"Baby." So and then
That's
you
an
got
anniversary special
and
for
then
the
you
old
got
grandparents.
and then you got the one with Theo when he got his ear pierced. And Bill Cosby, they was going back and leaning back, and Bill Cosby trying to look over and see if that ear pierced. And he came back.
Absolutely. I remember that
That
joint.
was one. But my favorite one with the Cosby Show was probably when Theo had Justine come over and
Justine.
Denise made him that shirt.
The
Bro,
Jordan
a Jordan Cartel.
yes, yes, yes. I still post that joint every time it comes up on my timeline. For
So
real.
so think about, I just gave you three. I don't know if you could think of another one. I always got Bill Cosby joints in my head just because I was a fan
Oh.
and still am a fan of his great educational work. But tell us, do you have one?
Uh, top three. Dealing with parenting when Sammy Davis Jr. met his daughter for the first time, when they
Yeah,
had that episode, how
yeah.
hard it was to communicate.
Mm,
Definitely because, like I said, it was five of us on my daddy's side.
yeah.
It's a total of six of us, but it was five, and all five of us went to Washington. Your
Wow.
brother went to school with Latanya Davis. That
Okay.
was all American that went to
Yeah,
SMS.
basketball. Yeah. Who couldn't?
That's my sister.
I did not know that.
I was in school with
Wow.
Angel Davis, who had high schools. We were in home economics when I found out. My brother Andre Davis, him and Dia were best friends the year before
Are
I
you saying
came in there.
Andre Davis Jabo?
No. Just
Not that
Andre. He
Andre.
was in jail. He was in
Okay.
jail by the time I met him.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But it's so funny because she knew who my brother was because I showed her a picture of my dad.
Got you. Got you.
Another one, what? Damn. My favorite episode was when they gave birth to the toys because it made me not want to have kids. Like to this day, when I saw that, when Theo had the car, Bill had the
Remember when
sub,
they was dancing in the living room and they was all pregnant?
yeah, that scared the crap out of me. I said, you know what? I don't know what sex is, but
Right.
I don't want
I
to
don't
have it because if
know
it
nothing.
happens to me, I'm a done deal. It ain't gonna be no no. I'm done.
Exactly. Well, listen, I got 5 minutes left. I'm gonna cut it short. CJ, thank you so much, man, for coming on. Y'all need to check out CJ on this podcast called The Less Than 3%. CJ, go ahead and give all your social media plugs so people can know where to reach you at.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Spotify, Anchor, Google Radio at the 3% Show. Also, you can find me on my YouTube under Jay Davis. Now that's going to be JAYDAVI number 5. You can find at least 8 episodes that I've done. Get a feel for what I'm doing. If you're interested in being on the show, just inbox me at the 3% show at gmail.com. I'm always available. Also, I'm on IG. I'll put all that information. It should be in the link. Anytime you need to converse or conversate. Anytime you want to have any questions dealing with me, if you know me, holler at me. I'm a simple person. I'm easy to get in contact with me. I'm the same person from years ago. It's just that sometimes you got to walk in your glory and your light and realize that, okay, you're Batman, just like a lot of Batmans in the world. So I am here strictly to give people the proper platform, the encouragement. And, even if I call you on your BS, please call me on my BS because iron sharpens iron.
That's
And
what's
that's the only
up.
way we're going to grow.
That's what's up. Hey everybody, I'm ready to cast off and sign off, but you can also catch me at johnwhudson.org, Reasons to Believe, with my non-for-profit organization. But I need y'all to catch CJ Horn on the 3% show. Give him much love. I want to say thank y'all again for coming, being focus driven with John Hudson. This is what we do, and y'all know how we do it. CJ, I need you to stay on the line, but to everybody else, peace. God bless y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Oh, yes, by the way, it is true. New book will be coming out called Because I Am a Dope Black Father. Much love, much peace to everybody. God bless. One. Stay on the line, CJ.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Got that. Save it.